Good morning, good morning. How you going? That's a very typical Australian saying, isn't it? If you're here live and you would like to ask me a question after the intro and the discussion or the points of view I have on this topic, please add 3 yellow circles or emojis like this example before the question you want to ask me. So I see this and the 3 circles tell my eyes if you're in these comments that you would like to ask a question or give a sensible and civil comment or to be read. Otherwise, please super chat during the stream and I'll see that comment for sure. Hello to the regulars. Let's see. Let me quickly pop out the chat so I can see it better. The chat is, I have to pick the correct window. Yep, that's the one. All right. Hey, Donna, how are you? Good to see you. Yes, please like or dislike the stream. That kind of, any activity you guys give, like likes, dislikes, subscribes, comments, whatever, any activity tells the robot that's running the show that something is happening and that eyeballs are on my channel or my stream or something. So it's a good thing. Hi, Peg, Roman, Boffin, how are you, man? Big ol' Mr. Highway, how are you? I haven't seen you in a little while. Sean C. Anyway, topic at hand is this thing here. Let me get rid of this. Is this thing here. It is a common thing that pops up time and time again. It's happened to me in the past where you get the same questions from family, from friends. Oh, not really from friends, not so much that make you that uncomfortable. With friends, we can tend to joke around and be pretty lighthearted and we can take a bit of a jabbing and fun being made towards us and things like that. But when it comes to people we really love and care about, like family members that you trust, that you want to trust, or your romantic partner or something like that, we walk on eggshells and we avoid questions that we keep getting asked repeatedly. One typical one for me that always annoyed me, and I found myself always talking about with guys online and privately to my friends and say, you know what irritates me? Whenever people ask me this and they go, yeah, I know, why can't they just stop asking that? Well, to them it might be genuinely interesting or they might be being rude, but what struck me later on is, why don't I have an answer? Why don't I talk openly and give them an answer for what they're asking me? Like in my case, the common one was, why don't you want kids? So you don't want kids? Why don't you want kids? What's wrong with you? And they look at you puzzled like you have 2 heads or something. And with your friends, you would let out the answer. But with people that would corner you, that you wanted to care about or love, and it's typically from females, let's be honest, as guys, you don't have an answer. You keep your mouth shut. You don't want to give her the answer that makes her frown. It's kind of, it comes from that biological stance where you don't want to make mummy upset. You don't want to make the female upset. You don't want the eggs to go away and upset them. You want to say anything that keeps a smile on their face and keeps them patting you on the head saying, good boy, I love you. Limbically, it comes from that place. Yes, but what struck me was it would be so much easier if I just had a well-rehearsed answer that wouldn't be dismissive, but would be exactly and poetically and precisely exactly where I stand on the position. Now, of course, if someone just asks you and puts you on the spot to feel superior or to make you uncomfortable, yeah, give them a dismissive answer because they don't really care about an honest answer from you. They want to start a debate. They want to make you uncomfortable. They want to shine a spotlight on you in front of everyone else so you're squeamish and you're uncomfortable. Those people aren't being genuine. But it struck me that, and it came from something that Peg left a message on last week on the stream, where I was talking about what do you regret? And she said something like regretting not having good answers or standing up for yourself. That's what I thought. But she said something along the lines of this. She said, not having short, proper quips at the ready in your repertoire for certain instances and circumstances to encourage others to either step up, shut up, or rethink about something they said, did, or would do. So there's no point getting frustrated, keeping your mouth shut, and afterwards venting incoherently. And I encourage guys to, in their quiet moments, and even with friends you can trust online or whatever, talk about these things philosophically and write them down, your answers, not just memes that say, a lot of guys online, this is what happens to a lot of guys online who attach to a meme. All women are like this, or society's like this, or I don't have kids because of marriage stats and blah, blah, blah. You come off as crazy because your personal answer comes off as like a conspiracy theorist, religious answer. You know, it's similar. If you have an answer from the manosphere or from your groups, it's similar to what the ordinary person feels when your answer is, well, my answer is Proverb 13:16 from the Gospels of John Luke, the blah, blah. It's like, whoa, okay, buddy, sorry I asked. So it's a scripted meme, an answer from something you might believe in your group or your religion. Fair enough. You're religious or what have you. You find comfort and solace in the group, and it gives you your answers. That's fine. I'm not necessarily making fun of that. But what I am saying is write down your answers so that when you respond to someone putting you in an uncomfortable position, so you're no longer keeping your mouth shut and you just kind of, hopefully they ignore it and move on to another subject. You have an answer that will tell them exactly where you stand. Or if it's a person that doesn't really care, they just want to make you uncomfortable, fair enough. Have a very quick answer that dismisses them because they're not interested in a genuine discussion. My thing is to, in a way, have an answer for uncomfortable things that keep coming back and keep popping up in your life. This is what I encourage guys to do. And Peg reminded me this is what I did a long time ago, and it's just become second nature. And obviously, the more versed I am in these discussions I have on videos, and I just keep repeating this muscle of knowing these answers on certain topics relating to relationships and men and women and my experience. I give answers on my experience. I've chewed on this stuff. I don't just give a meme from the manosphere saying women's stats, hypergamy, female nature, Briefolt's law, whatever it might be. When I give an answer, they can tell I mean it because it's coming out of my mouth with my lexicon, and it is me. It's not a conspiracy theorist nut job, quasi-religious extremist kind of like, because it says in the good book of blah, 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 or a political answer. It's a personal answer. So in a roundabout way, I want to encourage guys, when they're asked something like, why don't you want kids in my case? My answer was, I don't want to be a father. I don't want that lifestyle. That's it. Just overall, if I can boil down all the fragmented answers of why it's not my life, I don't really want that life. I have zero interest. Now, the mistake that comes and you feel like you're walking on eggshells and justifying yourself is when you're trying to convince them and like, oh, please believe me, please understand because of the laws and this and the way women are, and look at the news, and did you see that article and blah, 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 and did you see what happened to her? Did you see what happened to Brad Pitt? All of this stuff makes you, doesn't give you a good, it doesn't sound like a good justified personal answer. Not that you need to justify yourself, But even you come across, and I found myself when I was justifying politically and out there, rather than giving just a very simple personal answer, I no longer avoided the question. And it was a personal answer as to why I don't want it. And what's the other person going to do? Say you're wrong? No, this is the way I feel. This is a personal answer. And this is the trap a lot of guys fall in, whether it's pickup or learning about all this political stuff and how women are and how men are, which might be accurate. When that is your answer, when it's not personal, when a personal question is not answered personally, you come off as weird, or they don't get you. They think you're a conspiracy theorist or akin to some extreme religious extremist or something. You don't have your answer. You have a mathematical, out there kind of group answer. You don't have your personal answer. All of this stuff that I talk about in relation to relationships and things like that, these are personal things I've figured out. Yes, I've taken into account how women generally are, and I look at the pattern of people out there. I've tried things. I've tried to be a certain way and use questions and approach women in a certain way when I was younger. Nothing worked because you keep having to remember lines and strategy and quotes and bullet points, and you're always walking on eggshells, seeing if you can remember the right way to do things. Whereas when I completely screwed up that map and I just decided to, in real time, speak better, think better, know my position in this circumstance, know how to articulate myself, then I'm engaged with the person, I'm listening. I'm not ignoring what they're saying and trying to think of and remember one-liners to respond to this conversation. And I hope they don't keep the conversation going because I can't remember anymore. I stopped doing that. Have your answers, know how to speak. And I encourage guys to think and speak better and to know what they stand for and their values, and to communicate those things. They'll help you in everything. They will help you even when you're alone with the voice in your head. You will have a better discussion with the voice in your head. Because if you are mute and you don't know how to respond to women putting you on the spot and testing you, you won't know how to stand up to your boss, your overbearing mother, your family members, your overbearing father, people who are trying to use you and abuse you. You won't be able to stand up cognitively and mentally to McDonald's advertising. Everyone is, unfortunately, base human nature is trying to survive, and if it needs to use people, it will. If you don't know how to have a good conversation with yourself, if you don't know how to think and stand up for yourself and know what you think and express it, the world and women and everything out there will eat you alive. And also you'll eat yourself alive in your own head when you're alone. So I encourage you guys to have really good answers to protect and stand up for yourself on your own, and get them really sharp where you have a good friend in your head, and that good friend starts to come out of your mouth in front of other people too. And the best way I keep, for me, it worked for me really well, is to write those thoughts down. Organize them into words on paper. Record yourself speaking if you're not comfortable with writing. At least then you'll either hear yourself speaking, and you'll be surprised with the words you use and how you think of yourself and what words you choose to communicate the ideas and things you think are important, as well as if you write, which I prefer. You start seeing the language you use and you think, wow, is that me? Do I really use that? Do I use that negative language over and over again? Do I use that self-defeating language over and over again? So what Peg mentioned, and I wholeheartedly agree, is have quips and ready-made quotes. And I was talking the other day about this. It's not so much have fake memes from your groups and whichever groups you find comforting and your friends and stuff. Make sure they're your words. Don't just pick out memes that everyone's heard over and over again. Pick your words. That's why I encourage you to write them down and so forth, so that they come off as genuine, as meaningful from you, and condense them into kind of something poetic. Make a paragraph of explanation into one perfect line, you know, especially on the subjects that you keep getting confronted with on dates by your family. Why don't you want kids? Have an answer for it. Have a very calm, short, concise answer. And if they keep kind of trying not to accept it, they won't accept it. And if they keep saying, but why? But how come? But as someone mentioned here before, who hurt you? If they're trying to shame you, stay calm. It's like, no one hurt me. You asked me a question and I gave you an answer. Why do you keep refusing to accept it? Keep putting a mirror back on them, saying that you don't care what I'm saying. This is my answer. Stand up for your answer. Standing up for your values, gentlemen, means you are fighting for your happiness. If you don't stand up for your values, if you don't articulate them and defend them with righteous words that you're proud of, that aren't rude, you are standing up for being happy, for not being shamed. Like they're trying to do this and you're saying, no, get your hands off me. Like your hands don't exist. Reflect it back on them. You say, you asked me a question. I mentioned this before with exes where they ask you a question, but they just want, they're not interested in a guy's opinion. They're interested in their opinion coming back to them in a deeper voice. They want to hear their thoughts through my deeper voice. They don't care about my opinion. Leslie left a message. When I was a high school teacher, a bratty student once asked me on Valentine's Day if I was going to spend it alone at home. I responded, someone has to be there when all the bouquets get delivered. Yeah. Have an answer for uncomfortable questions. Even if they're disarming jokes that are both funny, they let them know that you're not cornering me. I find this funny. The question is not having the prescribed response that you hoped for, asshole. And also it lets them know that you know yourself in relation to this. Rather than, I wish the world didn't ask me this question. I'm crossing my fingers and kind of hoping like it goes away. Do not hope that the uncomfortable things in your life, gentlemen and ladies, but especially guys, because there's very, very little practical self-help for guys out there other than make money and go to the gym and very mechanical, robotic stuff that guys respond to because it's very tactile. It makes sense, but very little philosophical stuff that's practical out there. And learning to speak and think better and standing up for your values and then being happier because you do stand up for your values, that's not communicated or talked very much. And I hope that at the very least, my blabbing sometimes it can appear incoherent. Especially last week, I apologize. I was just rambling on because I was just relaxed and enjoying just having a cup of coffee and blabbing with you in the morning, which reminds me, cup of coffee. But learning to stand up with your words and your clear thoughts is so liberating. I can't describe it, guys. It's the one thing that solves almost everything. Like being able to take the tape off your mouth and proudly talk from your own position and give your own yeses and your nos. And if you don't know, you can proudly say, if someone puts you on the spot and the girl corners you, it's like, so where's this relationship going? What are we? You don't want to get married? You don't want to have kids? And if you're put on the spot, even if, come closer, even if your answer is, I don't know yet, give me time, like, let me think about it. And if they still aren't happy with that, it's like, well, I gave you my answer. I have a simple answer for a very important to you and uncomfortable question that you keep getting asked. Because it means something to you. Obviously, if it's uncomfortable to you, it's annoying and it's meaningfully annoying. You can't have a response with your friends where it doesn't matter, really. The response should be to the people that are attacking you or putting you on the spot and shaming you and making you feel uncomfortable. So have that answer. Thanks for the super chat, Leslie, and the example of a good quote to have. Let's see. I'm going through the questions. Humble Boy says, in the 21st century, it is not a man's job to take care of a woman. He should do it. She should do it herself. Look, you're not really going to have a relationship that's going to last over a couple of weeks or months beyond the physical, because men and women are very different. I even, not that I have to do things, I don't have to do anything, and neither does my woman. But I honestly, if I sit down and I'm honest with myself, I feel amazing when I do things for the people I love, her, my family, and I just see the smile on their face and they appreciate it and they do things for me. It comes back. What you need to be aware of is not just how you feel and what you do for other people. We can't just all be crossing our arms and having relationships behind glass and not experiencing any sort of feedback loop of doing good for others and it coming back and having conversations. It's the same as listening and speaking. You can't just always be sitting there wanting to receive, like a woman wanting to receive a bouquet of flowers, or you can't just be sitting there talking all the time. A good relationship with people or your hobbies is a nice feedback loop of you giving and receiving back, and that feedback loop continues. I realize that when I do nice things for my woman, I feel amazing. My day gets brighter, but she also throws it back in different ways, or maybe in the same way in certain instances, but because men and women are very different, she does things that make me happy as well. She keeps the house clean. She, serves dinner and does all these nice things that I, as a guy, and particularly I, as a guy that's human in particular, there's little idiosyncrasies that are particular to me that she does, that she knows these little actions that she does to me. She knows all she needs to do is do these little things that put a smile on my face. It is so simple, ladies and gentlemen. And the fact that everyone acts like a child with their arms crossed saying like, no, I'm not doing anything. I'm not going to do anything. And everyone acts like, well, when you do 100 things for me, I'll think about doing one thing back to you. And you better be grateful that I do this. I was tired of those kind of chicks where you had to keep giving and giving and giving and crossing your fingers that one day, if you were lucky, she would grace you with, with a small percentage of your effort back to her. Like she was some celebrity. I was a fan chasing her and wanting an autograph, and I would just kiss her feet for an autograph one day if she was in the mood. We just have to. We wouldn't accept it from anyone else. You wouldn't go to a job and work and never get paid at least something. We need to. Let me just adjust this. We need to. We need to be, if we're talking mathematics in terms of fair balance, we need to kind of be fair and not keep being that guy at the poker table that keeps going, pushing more and more chips in the table and losing and having no idea and hoping that, oh, well, if I just keep putting more and more in, it's all about luck and one day I'll get, 4 aces coming up or whatever it might be. I'm not great at poker. But you know what I mean? It's kind of like you just can't keep going all in and your strategies keep going all in without any awareness of how anything is coming back, or if anything is coming back at all. Is a relationship coming back? Is there a feedback loop? Or are you just throwing all your goodwill into a furnace? Stefan Molyneux once made a great analogy of his experience in the past. He was naive like many of us, and I'll readily admit I was in a big way, where I thought all this goodwill I was putting into relationships was like putting money into the bank. It's like, and I'm happy to put in more money into the bank. I don't need it today, but it's our bank. And one day when I want to withdraw like $20, because I've put hundreds of thousands of dollars into this relationship bank, and one day I want to withdraw 20, 50, $100 when I need it, when I would really want it, like in terms of affection or love or understanding or reciprocity or affection or whatever it might be. One day I want to withdraw a little bit because I'm giving so much into this as a guy. And then all of a sudden there's no money in the bank. It's like, hang on, I'm always depositing. And the chick says, well, no, you're not. There's no money here. It's like, but I do all the time. I don't see it. So his analogy was, guys, and he was thinking he was putting money into a bank, but he was really just putting it into a furnace. And the ability to observe, think, and communicate this uncomfortable feeling where I feel like I'm putting my goodwill and love into a furnace. It's not really a bank of reciprocity where we can freely withdraw and deposit, and that sort of feeling of stability and like a well-oiled machine. This is a furnace, but I'm making myself believe it's a bank. I'm doing this all the time. And it's why I encourage you guys to think, speak, write, see how you communicate. You don't have to speak like me or anyone else. You have to speak like you, but clearly. So first, you're proud of how you think and speak. You're no longer kicking yourself and feeling ashamed because you can't bring words to these things. And doubly so, you start feeling more proud of yourself because you start speaking better and communicating better, not only to yourself in here, but to people. They see you clearly. They know where you stand on certain things. And going back to this thing here, when you keep getting the same uncomfortable feelings, the same uncomfortable questions popping up and confronting you and being put on the spot by them, you have well-oiled answers from your own mouth and head, not memes, your own memes that you've stored. And you can articulate and expand on them if they say why. You can go into details, but you can clearly tell people who you are and what you stand for. You will start saying your yeses and your nos in this way very clearly. Guys and bosses and family members, they will see you clearly and they can like it or lump it. You're not doing anything wrong. But if you're just making someone feel bad because they're not a mirror, you're not a mirror to them, well, bad luck. I'm an individual. Either you are, if you ask me a genuine question, I will give you my genuine answer. But first, guys, you need to know what you think. I think it was Ayn Rand that once said that before you can say, I love you, you must first be able to honestly say the word I. You need to know who you are and how you speak and what you think and how you can articulate that to people. People aren't just going to vibe who you are, which I know is popular today in the younger generation. Articulating your vibe, if you want to think of it that way, will make people see you in no uncertain terms. You will clearly, they won't just, their vibe will be a direct result of the black and white words you said. You know, it's like writing on paper. You know, it says that. It doesn't say anything else. I said that. I didn't say anything else. And then you get through this bullshit of, oh, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. No, it's not how I said anything. It's what I said. What I said and who I am means everything. I don't care about how your feelings took it or how you interpreted or inferred or hoped I would be. It's one thing I think most people are annoyed with their ex-partners is, especially me, in the later, I think in my mid-30s and onwards, I did my best to communicate as much as I could, not be fearful and communicate in a polite way exactly who I was, what I did and didn't want. I don't want kids. I don't care. Hot chicky poo. I would rather you not go away, but I don't want to live a lie with you. I don't want to live in a mirage. I want you to know exactly who I am. I don't want kids. And if that puts a sour look on your face and you cross your arms and you want me to give you the answer you want to hear, I'm sorry. I can't be someone else acting in your romantic movie. I have to be in my own movie. So, long story short, have clear, concise answers that you're proud of to let people know what you think on a position that you keep getting asked, that you're uncomfortable and you're just saying, well, I don't know. You give them the answer they want to hear. Your mother asks you, well, when are you getting married or when are you having kids? It's like, one day when I meet that, it's like, and you don't really believe it. Give her the nice, polite answer. And if they get offended, if they're trying to shame you for you answering honestly and righteously and the way you should, then it's their problem. And if they go, well, you're breaking your mother's heart. Well, it's like you asked me. I'm trying to tell you as nicely as I can, Mum. If you don't like it, do you want me to lie to you? Would that make you feel better? Put it back to them. It's like, I'll lie to you if you want. But if you want an honest person, if you really care about my answer, this is what it is. If you want me to lie to you, I'll do that, but I'll tell you I'm lying to you. And if that makes you feel better, I will do it. Well, you have to. Because if you lie to them and they believe the lie, or they want to believe it, and then later on they can point to you saying, well, you lied, and you did. So it's a matter of just pulling off the momentary Band-Aid, and then everything is, you're off the hook. Be honest and you're off the hook. Articulate who you are and you're off the hook. Everything else is people's interpretations and snowflake feelings and whatever the heck it is, it's their responsibility. You did not be rude to them. If you were good and honest to yourself and you were clear and righteous, it is something that should be applauded and you should feel proud of it. If they're crushed by it, if they react like a 5-year-old that is expecting you to feel shame so they can feel better about themselves, or you need to lie so they can feel better about themselves, then I would start to get annoyed at them. I would start to recognize what is a person that genuinely cares about you or is seeing you and wants to be fair with you and says they love you, but all they're wanting to do is shame you until you give them what they want or let them hear the lies they want to hear so they can feel better. They're thinking to be damned with what you want, human. It's like, tell me my beautiful lies and you need to live up to them and keep living up to them in our relationship. It's like, no. Do you want the truth or do you want to lie? For people that are in your world, articulate the nicest truth you can. I mean, have tact. Don't be an asshole and like be so rude and blunt that you don't care about people's sensitivities. You know, you need to have some tact, but do not lie about who you are and have ready-made answers for these things that are important to you. If they bother you and you don't have the words for them, learn to find your words for them, not memes, not religious or political points of view, your memes, your words, so they know that you mean these things and this is where you stand as human, as Joe, as Bob, as Frank, as whoever. Big Ol says, an uncomfortable question comes from a place of disrespect. There is always a way to phrase an uncomfortable question comfortably. I do it all the time. It just requires a little care and EQ. Yes. Again, there's some people that aren't versed in that. They're rude. Sometimes they genuinely, like, I think at the heart of it, your parents, even, they're human beings. They mean the best for you, but a lot of people just don't have tact. Some people are genuinely a-holes. But yes, you should always try to deliver things in an intelligent, tactful manner, which I would say, regardless of other people, makes you prouder of yourself, makes you hone your skills, keeps your cognitive functions sharp, because you're playing sort of a beautiful symphony with the way you think, articulate, process, speak, interpret, listen to people, things like that, rather than being on sort of a very base Neanderthal autopilot where you can barely string words together and your communication sounds terrible and you don't even know what you think, and you go on dates and you act like a 3-year-old not wanting to say the wrong thing to mummy, you know? So yes, it usually does come from a place of disrespect, like Big Ol says, but look, if someone is being intentionally and happily disrespectful to you and they're getting off on your squeamishness to their question, I still encourage people to think and speak better, because then you'll be able to give a very smart, articulate answer, hopefully in front of other people, to put them in their place, to make yourself seem more civilized and expose their schoolyard behavior by the way they question things. So I don't really see there's a lose position from articulating yourself well, having honed answers, speaking clearly, And it's not, you will feel better. You will have more self-esteem. You might come off as superior to some people, but that's not the intended consequence of those things. The intended consequence, as far as I'm concerned, is for you to be happier, stop feeling shamed, avoid fear, avoid the uncomfortable, have an answer for the uncomfortable, both in your own life and to other people. Face your fears, both in terms of like dark places and things you don't want to talk about or you don't want to look at, questions you'd rather avoid, and things like that. You don't have to be a masochist and whip yourself with these things, but I'm saying it's kind of like someone who's a black belt in a martial art. You're an expert and you go through the world knowing that in your back pocket you can defend yourself and you can kick the shit out of anyone, but you never go looking for a fight. You are comfortably you. You are stoically you. You don't have a suit of armor on, and you have your guard down, and you are just so free and not ready to fight all the time. But you know, if you're provoked, and you have to, it's like the cliche in those old action movies, the Van Damme movies or the Seagal movies, where the cliche is, you know, the guy can kick the shit out of everyone, and he goes into a bar and some drunk guy's going, "Hey, buddy, stop, you think you're great." And the guy's going, "I don't want to fight, buddy." You know that you've got the ability to level the world of any problems because of your black belt in the way you can sort of respond to these things. And it's the same with having answers to uncomfortable questions, knowing what to say on a date where the chick's being awful and she's wanting to make you squeamish and things like that. Whoa, the sun's come out and my white balance is, my exposure is really high. Anyway, what are your thoughts, guys, if you're in the stream? Thanks for the super chat, Disco Cobra 2013. He says, "I was curious if you have seen the latest on Andrew Tate. I respect the man for his overall message of masculinity, but think he can be a bit pompous at times. Think it's just his personality, wrongfully convicted of trafficking." Look, I cherry pick. I try to kind of, I want to lead myself in terms of like recognizing people when they have good things to say on certain topics. My best friends and people I respect or can take something from or can enjoy time with them, they don't have to be mirrors to me. So I encourage guys, like I respect a lot of Andrew Tate's points of views. He's an intelligent guy that overall gives a positive message. On aggregate, he is wildly positive for guys and for people generally thinking, acting, and just even as an example, someone articulating themselves and knowing how to show you who they are and be a very sharp, clear example of a human being. Now, you need to be self-aware enough to know, well, is that me? Is this someone I want to be friends with? Not that any one of you could, and he couldn't care less, right? But I'm just saying, you don't follow people like a religion. You look at people as examples and see what you can cherry pick from their posture, how they work out, their health in life, their mental health, their physical health, their routines, how they think about certain things. I love my enjoyment, whether it's with Andrew Tate or listening to interviews of great novelists and thinkers and Elon Musk on certain topics, is how these people who are noticed out in the media, how they think. Now I know why this person is popular, why they're noticed, why they're good in their field. It's the way they think, not necessarily taking notes on the bullet points of how they believe in certain things, like they're Jesus and you're following Jesus. It's how Jesus thinks, how this person thinks on this topic. That fills in a lot of the gaps. I had no clue with women on this subject, and it always made me uncomfortable. And then Andrew Tate, for example, said this beautiful line that completely solved the question mark I had with women. And he solved it in a way and articulated it in a way that really resonated with me. I could speak those words. Those words are righteous to me. Then you start to try and chew on that phrase in response to those uncomfortable situations in life, and then they become your words, you know? So it's not so much what I think of Andrew Tate. I don't know him. In terms of from the little I can glean, I really don't know who he is in his personality because I don't know him in his personal life. But the stance he takes publicly to defend his position and his values in terms of what he stands up for and unapologetically, I do respect the guy. So what I think of him personally, it's kind of a moot point because I don't know him and I never will. But I respect the stance he takes from which position, if that makes any sense. Thanks anyway for the super chat, Disco Cobra. If any of you have questions, Big Ol says uncomfortable. Is your desire to not have kids the primary reason you don't have a lifelong partner? Comfortable. So these broads couldn't handle your honest preference to not have kids. Hey, yeah. People not accepting your answer really their inability and their insistence to poke and prod you really comes from their inability to accept something other than themselves. Because and maybe it's to do with my nature, I'm creative, I'm generally open, and I find new things interesting, and I like to have discussions and play with things creatively and listen to different things that aren't just a mirror to me, because I love that world of creativity, both in conversation and practical stuff and life in general. Something new, turning over stones and shells and things like that. It doesn't just need to be my reflection, but I'd say most times I notice it with people in my life when you could watch a documentary where on TV or a news story, and this has happened with my family, and they're lovely, well-meaning people, but sometimes they have an inability to be objectively cold and observe people as being different. They can only self-referentially understand people in the world, and it really stresses them out. How can people act like this? Whereas my cold, stepping outside of the situation, I can actually understand it. And it's happened over and over again where with family and friends, you watch a documentary on a woman treating someone badly, neglecting her kids, and you'll have women saying, oh my God, I just can't understand how a woman can just give away her child or neglect her kid or not love her son or her daughter. And it really stresses them out. It's happened with family members of mine, and it's well-meaning because it shows that they're very caring and they love their children, and they can't understand why no one wouldn't naturally love their kids or give them time. How could you abandon your child? And I kind of look at them and they're really stressed by it. And I say, mum or cousin or whoever it might, like, there are people like that. There are people who are awful. And it's like, yeah, but I can't understand. It's like, it's not about you. There are bad people in the world. Why can't you understand that, there's the color blue, there's the color red, there's not just your color. Yeah, but it shouldn't be that. Yeah, I agree. It'd be nicer if more people were nice, but so I don't know. Yeah, this is from Big Ol's answer. I was thinking, why did I veer off on that tangent? It's just recognizing that when people can't accept your answer, it's their problem. Especially if you've articulated it, you can't do it any better. And I tend to do it. I just keep repeating the same thing over and over again from different angles with different thesaurus words, funneled into the same sentence that I want to communicate over and over again. And hopefully the repetition of the same perspective will get through eventually, and they look stupid asking the same question to the same clear response over and over again. But what can you do? If people have a problem, and if they're kind of stubbornly a 5-year-old that can't accept the answer other than the answer they want to hear, you need to recognize that and say, well, I can only repeat the same answer over and over again. That's how I feel. Sorry. And then they will shut up. But you shouldn't need to justify yourself over and over again. That's the other thing that I used to do a bit too often. Let me change the chat thing to live chat. It's going to make things jump a bit, but Leslie said, answer to the question about kids. I watched Dr. Phil interview with Jeffrey Dahmer's father a few too many times. Okay, he's being funny there. Any final questions, guys? I really think, guys, actually, there was a poll I gave. Oh, let me reduce this so you can see. There's a poll I gave recently on in my community tab. Please check out my community tab every so often. My thoughts on videos, questions, polls, things like that in terms of these discussions, for ideas for videos that I'm making and thinking about, but most importantly, asking you guys questions, polls, and chewing on an idea that I want to present on my live streams like today. Check out my community section on my YouTube channel. And I often post things like this. And I posted this last night in preparation for this chat. And the question was, what is your typical knee-jerk response, say, to being asked an uncomfortable and familiar question? And I used to have a combination of freezing, and then after freezing in my mid-30s when I really wanted to stop being uncomfortable, I did the first thing a bit too much, explain and justify myself again and again, walk on eggshells. And then I just didn't like being confronted. Whereas when you have a righteous answer and you really believe in and love the position you're in and who you are and what you stand for, you actually enjoy these questions. They're no longer confronting. And then later you have a ready response, not to avoid questions, but to stand up for yourself. You feel good. So later I learned to have a ready response that was me, not a dismissive response to make them look foolish, unless, again, like I mentioned before, this person is intentionally being rude. Give them a response to put them back in their place. But if it's a genuine, uncomfortable question that you're always avoiding, learn how to answer it in a way that you're very proud of, and you repeat that over and over again, and you'll sharpen your response and your self-esteem and your ability to be comfortable with this question, and even look forward to it, because you will communicate yourself clearly regarding this question. So for me, the biggest, the thing that made me roll my eyes over and over again was, why don't you want kids? Why don't you want kids? They looked at me with their eyebrows raised, and I just thought it was very, like, what's the big deal? I just don't want this. It's like, why don't you have an iPhone? Or why don't you have a red car? Or why don't you drive? Yes, it might be strange, or it might be something odd that someone isn't at least open to, because most people either do want kids or they're open to it. And I know times have changed and more people don't want kids now. But me growing up, I was the odd one out. I got the response from people when I said, I have zero interest and I don't want kids. And it wasn't even angry. It was just like, my response to people was like I was gay 30 years ago. It's like, even if they were accepting and they knew it was a thing, it's kind of like, really? Why? And they just kept berating me with why, but how come? But that's weird. And I just don't get it. Can you explain it again? I'm just having trouble accepting you. And if you're vague about it, they will never understand you. And it bleeds over into them understanding your position on other things. No more than on a date when you want to be seen and understood the most. If you like the person, you want to righteously, happily, calmly articulate yourself. You want them to understand you, good or bad. If they understand you and like you, that's great. That's a great first impression. Why don't you want kids? And you happily, with a smile on your face, calmly articulate why you don't. And if they really do want kids, you probably won't get along and you won't see them again, hopefully. They're not the kind of person that tries to change your mind. That often happens. But you can feel confident, like, you ripped that Band-Aid off. They can't blame you for hiding it. Whereas a lot of guys hide these important things. They don't know how to say them. They pretend that doesn't exist. They'll say, well, maybe, one day, maybe I'll have, I don't know. I haven't thought about it, maybe one day. You keep a very neutral, vague answer, but in the back of your head, no, I don't want. It's like saying, maybe, I could have a gay relationship. It's like, no. It's like, just, I don't care. Like, if I lose a friend or lose a potential lover or something, like, the reason is I feel I can drop my armor and be completely naked in front of this friend or this girlfriend or someone or family members. I want to enjoy being around them. I don't want to, oh no, I have to hang out with family or my girlfriend or something and I have to put on the act again. Oh God, I'd just rather I need time to myself. The more you have to give them the answers they want and formalize yourself, the more you want to be on your own. If you don't have a mask on, you don't need time away from them because you can do and be and like you can jump on the internet, play your video games. You can just be exactly who you are and you will integrate with them. You'll be compatible with them, but you're not compatible with people if you keep putting polite masks on just for their happiness and your happiness be damned. It's your fault. Where's my coffee? Anyway, this was heartening to see. Have a response ready, but have a polite, tactful, and intelligent response that's not rude unless it's called for. But also, what is your typical knee-jerk response? Like I said, let's be honest with ourselves, not who we would want to be, who we are. And this is the way we should be writing as well. When I talk about journaling and writing your thoughts down, learning who you actually are, not who you keep telling yourself you want to be in private, but you never articulate yourself. Look at your weak spots, how you think, and how you always submit to other people and women on dates, and why you keep feeling shamed and why you never get the life or women and dates and the job you want. Have a response. Have your response so you're proud of who you are and everyone knows exactly who you are as well. Best way to live. Best way to live, guys. Crummy VCR says they don't want answers. They want confirmation bias. Yeah. My ex didn't want my opinion. She wanted her opinion through a deeper voice. That's all it was. And a lot of people are the same. They feel closer and they feel safer with you if your responses are not surprising. If your responses are almost exactly verbatim their responses, they feel closer to you because they can feel safer. People fear what they don't understand. And if every word out of your mouth is very different and surprising, it's like, arm's length. I keep this person at arm's length. I'm interpreting them. I'm figuring them out. The words coming out of their mouth aren't words and phrases I've heard over and over again, and they're very automatic. The way this person is communicating, I'm listening to them, but this is very new. I have to pay attention to who they are. Do I trust them? Do I not? So they have to go through a processing time to really pay attention to who you are. Whereas if you voice everything with the exact same phrases, sentences, and words, and your words are the words of the news and the memes of society, then they're kind of sedated. They're on autopilot. They're trusting of you. You're not a danger. But they need to interpret you if you're kind of dangerously using words they don't usually hear out in the world and around in their own lives. So, yeah, learn to have your words, guys. Tom Cook, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate the donation. Remember, if you want to want me to read a question or a comment out that's civil and good and well thought out, leave 3 yellow circles or smiley faces if you're here during the live stream, and I'll do my best to have a look at it. Or if you want to guarantee I see your question and comment, super chat me like Tom did, or like Disco Cobra did here. But let's see. Any more questions? Yeah, don't stop apologizing for your thoughts and what you want and who you are. Because if you know it's just your opinion and your life and what you do and don't want to do, when you can articulate it and feel good about standing up for those things, especially in front of other people, the amount of feel-good endorphins that you stood up for yourself is overwhelming, guys. You'll increase your confidence. You will feel more sure about yourself. Your motivation will increase when you know how to communicate who you are and articulate yourself, because the motivation will be based on you having the engine of knowing what you want and how to speak and how you'll engage in the world. If you don't know who you are and how to communicate, no wonder you're not motivated, because there's no engine of words and thoughts that are clear to drive the motivational engine. It's kind of like, I just want to feel good. Why don't I feel good? But if you know the thoughts that drive feeling good, it makes it a lot easier to sort of the motivational engine being a metronome that runs itself. Because I know my response to things and words and questions and people confronting me, I have these automatic responses of like, oh yeah, I know how to answer that. I know how to answer that. I'm righteous about that. And you keep standing up for yourself. And it's kind of this really beautiful forward-leading momentum that helps you in your self-esteem and your motivation. You self-generate motivation because you start generating this stuff out of you. But if you're not generating the words and answers that people confront you with, you kind of have nothing. You got no fuel by which to kind of run yourself in the world. You got no fuel by which to run your mind and your thoughts and things like that. Big Ol says, having to come up with stock answers is so annoying. I wish I could just eliminate rude people from my life entirely, but it's not that easy. Look, Big Ol, you come up with really articulate answers in some of the comments you've left just today. So it's not about, I'm talking about the average person, not the person that loves, I don't need to come up with answers. I'm talking about this all the time. I come up with different answers, just like in a sentence, I grab a mental thesaurus, I scan my brain and scan the conversation and what's in front of me. I find it easy, and it looks like you do as well by the way you articulate yourself in the comments. I'm talking for the average person that's starting from zero, and they feel like a 5-year-old being confronted by mummy saying, "Where were you? Why don't you eat your supper? Why don't you, like, you can't speak up, you shouldn't speak up. I just need to shut up and let the storm blow away, and then I feel safe." No. Generate your safety by having words and answers to defend yourself with, like you do here, and how I encourage you guys to do as well. I hope you can take something from that. So it's not necessarily about remembering these kind of cliche lines that are beneath you that you need to explain yourself to spurgs and idiots out there with. It's that the memes are yours, or at least the memes are starting points where they are they're almost like your greeting card to that answer. It's like, this is me. And if the person keeps prodding and pushing, then, okay, I gave you the introduction to me. You're ignoring it and being rude. Let's go below the surface. And then you get this. You get me articulating myself in real time, defending myself. Then they'll be sorry that they kept poking and prodding you and not listening and respecting your answer. So I'm just saying that having the bumper sticker answer for you on those questions is useful, so you don't have zero. It's a very quick one that you can use to introduce them to you on this subject. And if they still won't shut up, or if they're going to be rude or shameful, then okay, we can have a discussion on this big mouth, and you'll be sorry that you did. But it's not what you want to do. So I know what you're saying. You don't want to have stock answers. I don't want to have to explain myself to idiots. But when you're kind of not sure, when someone confronts you with a question that used to make you shrivel up into a ball and react like a 5-year-old that's sorry, have answers that you never reflex into the 5-year-old that's sorry. So you have an answer that's genuinely the response to that question of who you are. And then you can gauge by their response, that's who this person is. This person wants to fight. This person wants a debate. This person thinks they know me. This person won't accept my answer. They just want what they want. They're being rude. So it's a way of kind of gauging what this conversation is or who this person is. So it's a very convenient bumper sticker in front of your suit of armor, and then it's like, yeah, okay, you want to fight? Okay, let's get naked. Let's lower this suit of armor down and let's kind of fight verbally, philosophically, genuinely as people. It's like, you don't have a chance because I believe in what I believe in and I can articulate it. All right, guys and girls, any last questions? Like, subscribe, dislike the video, but comment or interact because it helps the channel out. It just shows that people have their eyeballs on my videos and they're paying attention. They just want you engaging. They don't care how. And yeah, if you have a microphone, jump on my Gilded server, have a conversation. A bunch of us drop in after this stream usually, and be respectful or you'll get kicked off. Be polite, let other people speak. And yeah, if you have a microphone, jump on Gilded. If you don't know what Gilded is and you don't know how to use the push to talk option there, jump on YouTube, watch a 5-minute video of how to get on Gilded and use your microphone and so on and so forth. It's not that hard. And I'll see you there in about 10 minutes or so. But this was a good conversation. Thanks for showing up. And yeah, I hope you took something away from that. Stop avoiding uncomfortable things and have an answer for those uncomfortable things. If they keep coming back to haunt you again and again and again in the form of uncomfortable questions that make you feel like a 5-year-old being pushed in the corner and you feel like you're being shamed. So I hope that was food for thought. And you get to the point where you know the answer to these uncomfortable questions. You've faced these kind of mini fears and you have the words to stand up to them, to stand up to these people, to the rudeness and whatever. And you're good. You're the black belt that can kick anyone's ass, but you choose not to because, yeah, you're good. You're not going to be hurt. Know how to answer and face those uncomfortable things, just so you don't, you're not shamed by them anymore. And you'll find them more and more. You start to come up with answers for everything. And then you'll go on dates. If your Achilles heel is women, your Achilles heel won't be women anymore. If your Achilles heel is the workplace or fitness or health or whatever it might be, the more you face these and have an answer to them and know how to engage with them, they're no longer going to be your Achilles heel. They're no longer things you avoid because you have the answer to them. And then if you no longer avoid them, you start avoiding less and less and less. And you're less avoidant and you fear less. And then all of a sudden you're more free than you were yesterday. So I hope you took something from that. Learn how to respond and have your own answers to uncomfortable questions because they're making you uncomfortable, and then you'll feel less uncomfortable. It sounds cliche and very milquetoast, but it is what it is. I think a lot of people look for complicated answers to very simple questions that could, in huge ways make their lives so much better. But they think that the sophisticated answers, that's where it's at. You see it no more so do you see it in fitness and health. It's kind of like calories in, calories out, move your body and exercise. Like what you eat and exercise. Yeah, but there must be something else. It must be this 3-day-a-week split 5 multiplied by 3 routine with a smartwatch tracking my steps, doing blah-de-blah. And no, you boil everything down to its simplicity. Is whatever you're afraid of, face it, find the words to kind of neutralize it. How can you make yourself be more confident by the way you speak and act? It's about eliminating fears in the most rational way and not hiding in the abstraction of intellect and science overly when all these problems are personal. So anyway, that's another topic I don't want to veer into. Have a good weekend. Enjoy your Sunday or Saturday night, depending on where you are around the world. Leave your comments. Jump on Gilded after this chat. I'll be there in the next 10 minutes or so. I'm going to wrap all the equipment up and I'll join you there with my microphone. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. And yeah, have a good one. Bye.